Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here today to talk to you about some of the miracle stories that are happening right here in our own city, in our own state, every day. My name is Tony Kausha, and the title of our show is Tony's 50,000 Coincidence Miracles. Please note, this show is not about religion, and we're not trying to change anyone's religion, and we're not trying to get you to join any religion. It's just about miracle stories. I don't know of any religion on the planet that doesn't talk about miracles. That's why religions begin, because they have something that's telling them there's really a God. But we're not going to get into that. We're going to just talk about miracles and leave the decisions about all that up to you. So we don't care what religion you are. We just want to talk about miracles. If you are an atheist, I think you'll enjoy the program as well, although I can't guarantee you'll remain an atheist very long after you hear many convincing stories, coincidence kinds of stories about miracles. You can email me your own stories if you wish. We'll try to use all we can on the show. I can't guarantee we will, depending on volume and time, but you're welcome to send your stories on to us, and we will mention them when we can. You can send them to the following email address. But please notice that if we do use your story, we won't mention your name. We'll keep you anonymous. And we suggest that in your story, when you send it to us, don't use your correct name. That way anyone listening will not be able to figure out that it was you that sent the story in. The email address you can send your stories to is very easy to remember. It consists of 2 words and 3 numbers. The first word is Tony, spelled Tony, and the second word is and, spelled AND, and the numbers are 777. So once again, the name is Tony and 777 at AOL.com. Well, let us begin. Our first coincidence miracle today is in 3 parts. There's 3 parts to this story. We got a note, a text really, from one of our regulars, and they told us that they were inspired by God to send some important legal documents to a friend lawyer they had, because they knew that these legal documents would help the lawyer with a case he was working on. And they prayed about it. They got inspired. It was the right thing to do, to be helpful to the lawyer and help the case get settled. So she was inspired to do that. So she packed it all up. She went to the post office and she mailed it. And as she was pulling out of the post office driveway to go to Stop and Shop for the next thing she had to do, she noticed that she was following a car with a license plate number 444. And it was very apropos, because she was going to Stop and Shop now to buy some roses, because she has a devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary, and 444 is the number that reminds us of the Blessed Virgin Mary, and it reminds us of the Rosary. So she was inspired. She was going over to get flowers at Stop and Shop, and now she saw that she's following a car with 3 4s, which was very apropos. So she went into Stop and Shop. She bought some roses. She comes out of Stop and Shop, and she's driving out of the driveway, and she notices as she's pulling out of the driveway, a car is coming into Stop and Shop driveway, another different car, and it also had 444 on its license plate. So she shared this with us, sent us a text. She was very touched and moved by the fact that she was trying to do something good for the lawyer. She sees 3 4s before she is going to get flowers to put in front of the Blessed Virgin Mary statue that she has in her home. And then she goes to Stop and Shop. She gets the flowers, and as she's leaving Stop and Shop, she sees another 3 4 license plate coming in, and she texted this to us. So I got it, and I logged it into our system, and then I sent her a text to explain to her that I was grateful and thankful, and it was a meaningful coincidence miracle. And after I sent her the text, I just accidentally, or providentially, I should say providentially, I noticed that the exact perfect time was 4:44 p.m. In other words, I was texting from like 4:42 to 4:44, and after I sent the text out, I didn't notice the time until after I sent it out, but the clock changed to 4:44 exactly as I was sending the thank you response to this person. If you think about this for a little bit, you'll realize that God had this woman texting us at the perfect time for me to receive it, wherein I would have enough time to respond to her precisely by 4:44 p.m. So God was orchestrating not only what she had experienced, but the time she sent it to me. And then he inspired me as well to send her a response. And I point all this out because as I keep trying to convince people of, when you notice coincidences, if you take a little time to notice coincidences in your life, you'll very, very often notice that God is moving things around and making things happen precisely on time. We call these coincidences, but I wrote 2 books, and it's called Co-incidences, and I thought I'd use this one case from this woman to indicate again how coincidence miracles work. Primarily, God makes it all happen, and he shows us the coincidences so we can pay attention. Our next coincidence miracle is really amazing. It's also in 3 parts, and I was personally involved as well. I was flabbergasted by this one. I was driving around in the Storrs, Connecticut area of Connecticut, near Yukon, and I got a text message from someone in Woodbury, Connecticut, who is one of our regular contributors, and they sent a note saying that they had stopped at the bank. They were praying for help for some problems they were having in their life, but in the process of praying, they were driving over to the bank. They pulled into the bank parking lot, and before they got out of their car, they noticed that the car right next to them had a license plate number 777. The next person texted me like 30 seconds later. Couldn't be more than 30 seconds. Might have been 20 seconds later. I was so amazed. The second person was also from Woodbury, Connecticut. So both of these people from Woodbury, Connecticut, they've never met. They don't know each other. They are both contributors to the past because I used to live in Woodbury and I met these people, so I know both of them. So the second person sends me a text that they were pumping gas. They were also asking God for some wisdom about some things they're trying to make decisions about. And as they were pumping gas, a car pulled in there with a license plate 777 right behind them to take their next turn as they were pumping gas. So far, I got 2 text messages from 2 people in Woodbury, Connecticut, which is on the other side of the state of Connecticut. They're almost into New York. And I'm on the other side near Rhode Island, all the way on the other side of Connecticut. And both texts arrive within 30 seconds, maybe within 20 seconds. I was amazed. And they're both seeing a license plate, different cars, but, like 20, 30 seconds apart from each other, with the license plate 777. So at least in my mind, and after doing this for about 55 years now, noticing coincidence miracles, I have no doubt at all that God was involved because of the precision of all of this. The precision of these 2 people are having this experience like 30 seconds apart. They're texting me 30 seconds apart. They're on the other side of the state, and I'm getting it all the way here on the other side of Connecticut. And both of them are seeing the same number on 2 different cars, license plate 777. There were other digits, other digits beside the 3 sevens, but in one car's case, it was first it showed 3 sevens, and the other car's case, it was the last 3 numbers were sevens. So I encourage all of you to, notice when you see license plates with 3 numbers, all of the numbers are holy. Except for the number 666, as the Bible explains, the number 666 is not a holy number, but all the other numbers, number 1 through 10, 10 being just zeros, are all holy numbers. So I encourage you, when you see that, you can expect that you are seeing some kind of a coincidence miracle. I've explained in many of our past shows that God often uses these numbers like Morse code. To the people receiving these kinds of miracles, they see a pattern where God will send them typically a certain number all the time. Like some people get 3 2s all the time. Some people get 3 5s all the time. And they call it like their favorite number or their angel number. So God uses numbers to remind people that he's in their life. It's like he's like showing up with the numbers to help us remember him, and that's the way it works. It's like Morse code. It's like God saying hello to us by having these numbers arrive exactly, precisely at the right moment, like when we're entering a parking lot or we're getting off of an exit on a highway, etc., etc. Our next coincidence miracle is also from someone who saw some holy numbers. They tell us they were on the interstate highway driving to the mall, and as they were driving over to the mall, they realized when they got to the mall they had received a text. They tell us they were praying for wisdom about some decisions they were trying to make while they were driving over, and that's important to notice because if you're praying, likelihood of getting a miracle is more likely. But they were praying for wisdom about some decisions they're trying to make. When they got to the mall, they noticed they got a text, so they parked their car, and while they were still in the car, they checked their text messages, and they were reading about, this person sent them a note, that this person, a friend of theirs, had seen a license plate number 333, and they were sharing how that was meaningful to them. It had arrived at the right time. And while this person is in the mall reading this, they notice a car pulls in front of them to park at the mall, and the car that pulled into park in front of them had a license plate number 444. So this is again like God using numbers for Morse code. Someone was praying, driving over to the mall. He has them get a text, which they checked when they got to the mall. And while they're in the mall reading about this coincidence miracle of a holy number 444 comes in and parks right in front of them. Our next coincidence miracle is from a man who tells us that he was working long, hard hours for about 3 days. He was pretty exhausted, but he was asked by someone to make a delivery for them, to do them a favor, and it required like an hour and a quarter drive one way, so it would be 2.5 hours round trip. But he was inspired to do it. It was meaningful to the person who needed the favor, so he took off to do it. He says when he got off the interstate highway, as he was getting off the last exit, he noticed a car with license plate number 888 passing him on the highway just as he was getting off, which is a clear sign that 888 is the number that reminds us of the holy name of Jesus. And when they got to the driveway of the house where they were making the delivery, they got to the driveway and they saw a car with a license plate number 222, which was passing them on the way out. The number 222 reminds us of going out 2 by 2, God and us 2 by 2, going out to do things together with God guiding us. Our next coincidence miracle is from someone who wants to help us realize that he saw a confirmation for seeing holy numbers. He said he's been noticing the number 777 often, and he knows that's a holy number, meaning the power, permission, and participation of God. But the other night, he turned his TV on later in the evening to watch TV, and what was on already was a priest who was explaining that often when you see coincidences, if you think about it, look at the coincidence, see how it happened, you'll notice that God is orchestrating coincidences, and coincidences are really God's intervention, often showing us that God's present with us. So this was delightful for us because, our show is all about this. And he saw a priest explaining when you see coincidences, if you pay attention to them, if you analyze the coincidences, look at what was happening before and after, that quite often you'll notice that the finger of God is involved and God is somehow patting people on the back and showing them that God is present. I was personally absolutely gratified and grateful to get this message that a priest is actually explaining this to people on television. God bless you all. I'll talk to you next week.